Let's first get our facts straight. On January 5th, a protest was organized by various pro-Trump groups to call out perceived voter fraud for the national election, rallying together for the Save America March. This has been one in many recent MAGA rallies to rile up support for the Georgia election, which also occurred on January 6th. That morning, the president addressed his followers outside the White House. After riling up his supporters, many at the rally moved towards the Capitol building and eventually began to clash with law enforcement around 1 p.m. local time. At 2:20, the Senate recessed its debate of objection over the election results, and at 2:30, the agitated protest forced their way into the Capitol building. At 2:45, after further escalation and Capitol Police becoming overwhelmed, lawmakers began evacuating from the U.S. Capitol. Protesters could easily be seen marching through Statuary Hall, shouting political slogans and waving flags. At 2:47 p.m., President Trump made his first public response to the breach of the Capitol, asking supporters to stay peaceful, but nothing else. At this point, the general consensus was made to consider this group a riot, as they continued to violently clash with law enforcement. Tear gas was first dispersed into the Capitol Rotunda amid fighting between Capitol Police and the pro-Trump rioters. At 3:15 p.m., the first major assistance to law enforcement arrived, with the initial request of an additional 200 D.C. Army National Guard members made to the Defense Department. As the clock reached 3:30, the first major injury was reported, with a woman being carried out by EMTs after being shot by a Capitol Police officer due to her breaching a restricted area. She is now deceased. By 4 p.m., the Department of Homeland Security deployed more federal agents, and the White House reported that the entirety of the 1,100 soldiers of the D.C. Army National Guard had been activated. Local law enforcement, fire, and EMS resources were also being pulled from neighboring jurisdictions, with Maryland attempting to send in more National Guard troops and Virginia sending state troopers. An explosive device was found near the Capitol around 4:30, but it was deemed no longer a threat. Welcome to The New Direction at thepeople.org, covering the January 6th Save America March and the direction of our nation. After the riot was dispersed under curfew at 6 p.m., the casualty toll was called. 5 dead, 3 to currently unknown medical emergencies, a Capitol officer, and 1 dead due to an officer-involved shooting. It has been confirmed that a significant amount of memorabilia has been stolen from the Capitol building, as well as multiple instances of secure files being breached, including but not limited to the emails and other documents of Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Concerningly, many rioters were shown fraternizing with the police and law enforcement inside the building and during the storming, though it is unknown exactly how many of these officers reacted. Even with the assault eventually repulsed by law enforcement intervention, there was a distinct lack of law enforcement on the premises up to 4 o'clock. This can be mostly due to the lack of action from the executive office and failures from federal police leadership. It was actually Vice President Pence who gave the order to send in the full force of the D.C. National Guard, not President Trump, who was reticent on the issue. Now, we would be remiss not to mention the overwhelming responses that were brought up surrounding the event, especially within our represented community. Online and in direct correspondence, people generally did not have much of a clue what was truly happening at the Capitol until later into the night.
Well, what I first thought was to be honest, I thought it was a shock, and I thought it was kind of funny, but as I kept looking into it, I was like, holy shit. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can.
It's
fine.
Holy shit, this is actually happening.
While coverage was pretty heavy on the physical events taking place in DC, many people simply could not react to the reality of the situation, not least of which because much of the surrounding story was not being considered in media presentations. If you simply want a more detailed timeline, we would recommend you check the description below to look at some of the resources there. But in media coverage, we generally found 2 main camps form of discourse for the event. One group appalled at the actual nature of the event, and more specifically the response of the president, while another group was disillusioned at the actions that the rioters were taking, some to the effect of their conduct, and some to the effect of their reason of organization. A third minority, though a very vocal one at that, took the stance of supporting the rioters and repudiating law enforcement for their response, chanting the term traitor at law enforcement officers attempting to hold the line. The focus of discourse lands around the two latter groups and the values and goals that they represent and promote. The primary question that we seek to explore, outside of general news coverage, is what does this event actually symbolize, and how will it affect the future? Considering recent history, this march has been the most violent display from the right side of the political spectrum since the events in Charlottesville, and could be a pivotal point on the American path away from identity politics. One thing that needs to be seriously considered is what purpose the rioters were trying to achieve.
They think that by doing this, they're going to be able to save their idol of Donald Trump. And they think that, doing this will magically make it so the entire election's overturned and he will be in power again. That's what I'm guessing. And it's not going to work. You're not going to overturn a federal election by doing it. It's just needless violence.
And this goal seems to hold up to scrutiny. Trump's speech on the 6th had him stating that he will, quote, never give up, paired with unfair distortions of figures and other radical statements concerning his commitment of continuing to hold office or overturning the results of the election. The storm of the Capitol actually occurred in the middle of the Senate hearing for the issue of overturning the election. Importantly, this also happened during the declaration for the results of the Georgia runoff. For some congressional Republicans, their last attempt to deny the election results was also on this date, as they would no longer have any chances to do it after then. For their part, congressional Republicans got hit by another ironic hand. Mike Pence issued a statement wherein he no longer feels he can support the ascension of Donald Trump, and the Republican offensive against the election completely splintered, handily giving the election, and separately, but no less importantly, the Senate seats for Georgia to the Democratic Party. Combine this with the wild card of Donald Trump, and it is unclear what the types of movements the Republican Party have made were actually intended for.
Where they're like doing radical things in his favor. So trying to talk them down from that position is going to be incredibly hard. And I don't think it's something that many people would be able to do.
Judging by our analysis of the event, President Trump lacks the tact and possibly the affiliation to inspire the organization and real leadership the Republican Party needs, and truly served to inflate tensions on January 6th through making placatory statements and through his impressions to his supporters during the actual march and on Twitter. The type of negative integration politics that Trump has been practicing, as well as the generally inflammatory and self-congratulatory rhetoric mentioned, has only caused a rise in violent action. This type of negative integration politics that were preached during the Save America March, and since the beginning of the Trump era, are politics that consist of exclusion and antagonism. Combine this with the cult of personality used to wrangle a base of supporters, and we see more damage done to the American public than possible through simple divisions. Trump's major appeal, providing the conservative context and subsequent action along the lines of somewhat universal social issues that are spiraling into wider political problems, inherently leads to social unrest as a result of that inaction. For those who are concerned about the direction of the nation and hold new opinions on national values, this event can help us analyze exactly what to do to move away from the appeal of this type of antagonism and towards real political and social change.
Trump is basically the biggest figure in Republicanism since Reagan, and so with that, his mark and his legacy is going to be immortalized, I believe. And his ideology was very divisive, and did isolate both parties very heavily and polarize.
I joined the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this president by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment.
With what seem like shifting demographics, it's our prediction that this will lead to a shift in politics that will be inherently beneficial over the next term of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
The Democrats do control both Senate and House, so I feel hopefully that there will be some change, but
many calls for justice on both sides notwithstanding, and the overwhelmingly radical display has given people the necessary taste of what identity politics can lead to: dangerous civil disobedience and mass uprisings. For those who are dissatisfied with the structures and systems that perpetuate these forms of violence and obstructions of liberty, we hope you can find hope in the fact that the future at least has a new path to follow, one that can affect real positive change under a deeper understanding of what drives these forms of radical political action and divide and evaluate power in our society. Thanks for watching this short coverage on the January 6th riots. This will be the first video in a series on shifting social values and changes that will need to be made for the future of our nation, so stay tuned for more commentary. If you'd like to suggest a topic, take part in our polls, or just learn more about the People organization, feel free to contact us or visit us on our website.